Why are you holding a press conference?
Well, the press conference is because of the events of the last 2 days and the police presence that's been in the park. Yesterday, they were walking through the park the entire day pretty much in full riot gear, kicking people to the side, telling them to move and get out of the way, surrounding tables and intimidating people. And we had asked the person that we had been negotiating with, the liaison, to tell them to leave the park, that this wasn't necessary.
So my name is Glenn Spagnello. I'm one of the co-founders and one of the spokespeople for the Recreate 68 Alliance. We also have some folks here from Code Pink. One of their members got arrested this morning. A friend of one of the gentlemen who just bailed out, one of the folks that got arrested this morning. We also have one of the lawyers here. And for the last 48 hours, everything has been peaceful and non-violent. Why are you, amping up the tension in the park right now? He told me that they were looking for somebody who was putting a bandana on their face. We explained to him that in the city of Denver, putting a bandana on your face is not a crime, and there's no reason for the police to start pushing through the crowds like this, increasing the tension in the park. Some of the younger folks in the park, rightfully so, put their bandanas on their face to show solidarity, came together and started chanting "No justice, no peace," which also, remind you, is legal in the city of Denver to chant in a park. It's called your First Amendment.
And so eventually what happened is they began attacking people and pepper spraying people, and they forced people to run downtown. And then they had two blockades. They blockaded in 200 people on one side and about 50 to 70 people on another side. Ultimately the freedom of the 200 people was won through negotiations, and the fact that hundreds of people were surrounding the cops chanting "Let them go." But the other 50 to 70 people on the other across the street from that 200 were arrested and taken to the processing center. And some of them, as far as I know, are still in lockup because they can't post bail.
We have a 24/7 call line in effect, which we've distributed to activists. And beginning about 7 p.m. or so last night, we started receiving hundreds and hundreds of calls about the event which occurred at 15th and Court there. A number of our legal observers, individuals that have been trained to simply observe, were caught in this police net, and many of them actually were hit with chemical weapons and pepper spray. Make no mistake, these sort of mass arrests are a violation of free speech rights and the right to free assembly. The fact that these hearings, these bond and arraignment hearings, were held between 1 a.m. and 9 a.m., I believe was an intentional tactic by the city to make sure that these people were arrested and did not have legal representation. Thankfully, the People's Law Project put on a pot of coffee, came down here and represented those individuals for those bond hearings.
This morning, we had these extreme right-wing racist hate groups that have been chanting and yelling at people and calling people names all day on our permit, and the cops have just been watching them. They've been the provocateurs, the ones that are being provocative and attacking people. Cops have done nothing to them. What the cops did do is that when we began chanting them down, they picked out one of our people, Carlo Garcia, who's a Puerto Rican brother, Afro-Puerto Rican brother, who has two brothers in Iraq, and his father was in Iraq as well and has a Purple Heart. They picked him out, they tackled him, and they arrested him, and they took him away to jail. They attacked a woman from Code Pink, whose name hit her in the chest with a baton and knocked her over, knocked the wind out of her, and then detained her, and they began pushing other people and hitting people, running their horses in the back end of their horses into people, and telling them to move out of the way, and they formed another police line, and some police began taking out their pepper spray. So we are having a press conference to demand that the police presence be removed from the park, and to reiterate what we said all along, is that the only violence that's going to happen this entire 5 days will be the violence created by the cops. And it's not like we're prophets. I don't believe in suits, but time and time again, it's always been the state. And
we are talking to the attorneys about suing the city of Denver. We know from a number of previous events like this, previous conventions, globalization protests and so on, that these kinds of illegal actions have resulted in major lawsuits against cities, resulting in payments of millions of dollars. We know that the city of Denver was given $50 million for security for this convention. We're not sure exactly what was done with that money, but we think it's about time that some of that money go to people who have been victimized and whose civil liberties have been violated during this convention by unnecessary, overly violent illegal police tactics.
But it is amazing that this would occur
during the so-called Democratic National Convention. And when the platform that is being run is one of hope and change. But this is the face that Denver wants to put on for the rest of the world. And maybe they have not realized it yet, but the rest of the world is watching. And so our police liaison, Les Perry, and Mayor Hickenlooper should realize from this point onward that the world is definitely watching. And one of the things that we demand, we're not asking, is that the police be removed from the park. We have not done anything. So why are the police constantly parading around the park and kicking people and poking them with their batons and telling them to move as they walk in groups of 10 to 12? The police need to leave the park that we have the permit for. That is our demand, one of our demands, and that we expect that be done immediately.